All right, guys, Shotty T here with an Alliance War video. This is war number 7 in season 20. Once again, the opponent is running Stubborn. And as you can see, their diversity, there isn't any. I see 3 things in the picture just right there, and I think there's a 4th one on the left side. They got at least 3 Doctor Dooms. They got 3 Iron Man Infinity Wars. They got 2 Voids, 2 Korgs. Actually, got 4 Doctor Dooms. Uh, I think overall their diversity was 113. I think that's the lowest diverse opponent that we've seen all season. And if there's an annoying defender, it's worth doing it because it can make it more challenging. And this will be a challenging war. As you can see, I highlighted some of the individual fights there. Of course, we got that Korg on node 23. We got the Killmonger there. And I had quite a time with that Killmonger a couple of wars ago with Venom. And of course, I'm going to be taking Path 5 and Path 4 once again. Normally, I take Path 5 all the way, but Path 4 has an Havoc, and we don't have the best Havoc counter in our subgroup other than I pretty much got the main Havoc counter for that particular node. But at the same time, we're grooming someone to take that node just in case Havoc is there again. But the team that we're debating here, no doubt we're definitely going to bring Human Torch because there's a Doom boss. Every time there's a Doom boss, I'm going to bring Human Torch. So I thought about Havoc because Havoc on Havoc, of course, is great. Of course, I can use Havoc for Korg on node 23. But I decided to switch it up this time. Say, why not go with Omega Red? I've seen Omega Red do some great work in war, especially on that Korg node 23. So I decided to bring him this time. And the third option here, because there's a Havoc on that node still, but instead of bringing Havoc, I preferred to bring Colossus because Colossus has a synergy with Omega Red as well that grants more critical damage for every spore for Omega Red, and also I think it gains an extra armor up buff for every. I think you have no extra attack rating for each armor up buff. Yeah. So the first fight here, we're going to be facing a Nova on Ebb and Flow knockdown. So we're just going to bring Colossus. Now, obviously, you don't have to have the best Nova counter for non-stun immune nodes. You just fight. Every fight can be fought with any champ. Of course, other certain champs make the fight much easier, of course. But this one is just going to be parry heavy, win the game. I probably could have did a special attack by now, but I took some SB2 block damage there. I have no idea how to evade this SB2 entirely. So you try to bait this SB1 whenever you can, but nonetheless, we got through the fight relatively clean there, 9% health loss. But it's the reason why I'm bringing Colossus for the first couple of fights. Now, this next fight, you're going to see a little bit of an intermission here. So this will be something, we're gonna be dueling Domino real quick. I'm going to test something out. I'm going to bring Colossus for her. I want to see if I could do a dash back light intercept counter because against Domino, that's the strategy. Dash back light intercept counter. If you can't light, you can still do a dash back medium counter, but light is a little bit safer. And of course I can do it. And this just goes to show you, it does help to duel your matchups, especially if you got a questionable opponent in your path and you're not sure if your champion may or not match up with it. So it's always good to duel. Dueling, and you get 5 free duel credits every day. And also, it helps to duel the champions, the profiles that you're going against, just in case they have like Limber or if they have Mystic Dispersion. Of course, if they're a Mystic Defender. And then also a lot of times, of course, you'll never have a chance to like simulate this, but if you have an opponent that has assassins, it's probably not a good idea to go into that fight with less than 18% health, because you'll have some ability accuracy reduction. So just a little tidbit there. But we're gonna go with Colossus. Now this fight doesn't go quite as scripted as the duel went. So right there, she shrugged off my stun pretty quickly there, and I kind of got punished. So we do a little SB2 to kind of regain some space. And of course, the annoying thing about Domino, even if you fight her perfectly, you can go a whole fight without getting hit at all. He'll still hit that critical failure damage. Of course, Mysterio. What's his name? Old Man Logan. You don't take critical failure damage with those guys. Now you can still get unlucky with Old Man Logan, but Mysterio is probably the safest Domino counter. But anyway, we lost a bit of health, but we got an insurance policy for Mr. Colossus, so I was planning on bringing him in for this particular fight, but we lost a little bit too much health, and it's too risky to get hit with a special and die. So we're just gonna bring in Mr. Omega Red. Yes, I spun, and just to let you know what that's all about, I did do the early access bundles. I did just a single purchase. I got 5 of the Professor X crystals, and I pulled a 5-star Professor X, so, and a 3-star Dragon Man. So 2 new champs to add to the Shoddy T roster. I did a little bit of testing with Mr. Professor X. He's pretty cool. But if you guys want to see crystal openings, I'll be happy to do those. I don't really open a lot of crystals. I usually open them if I really like the champion, like the feature champ or the sub feature champ, but I don't whale out like Seaton or Crystal opening well. But I know he's retired, but I think he's making a comeback. But anyway, this Annihilus fight is kind of just like Domino. You dash back, light counter, but got a little tense there with being cornered a little bit, so I do a heavy attack just to kind of shoo him away. And luckily, Omega has a pretty good reach on his heavy attack. So we take some block damage with the SP2, but I do have some willpower to heal some of that back. And that's the end of that fight. So now we're going to be facing Korg once again, Node 23. So it's a common placement. You're going to see Korg, you're going to see Nick Fury, but we're seeing Korg more than anything. But I did see some videos of Omega being a much easier counter, and next time you're not going to see me using invulnerability boost. I'm going to trust my efforts this time when I face Mr. Korg. But Omega Red, the whole idea here is to parry heavy, parry short combo to kind of mix it up with the Mix Master. And the thing about Omega Red, in case some of you guys don't know, the more spores you have on you, the less likely opponent is going to shrug off your debuffs. So you can parry safely with the guy once you have like at least five spores. You can parry without being shrugged off. So that way you can manage the rock stacks. So really the only thing you have to focus on is just safely evading the SP1 and keeping the power stacks under control. So it makes this node a lot easier to manage. And if I knew this sooner, I would have brought this guy every time. Now Havoc, don't get me wrong, he's still a good counter, but the thing that made things more annoying fighting using Havoc is just him shrugging off so much, especially those plasma debuffs when they kind of pile up. But Omega here, just be patient. So I can't keep the spores on. Like, so I'm not the best Omega player. This is actually the second time I've ever brought Omega into war. First time was disastrous. Now this time it's a little cleaner, and also just getting used to his playstyle because it's different than a lot of opponents. And instead of using the heavy, I decided to use all of those spores to heal myself. So there's multiple ways to play with this guy. I guess that's why a lot of people like him. You can play him with suicides, you can play it without suicides. Now, of course, he's much better with suicides, but you can still get pretty good damage output. SP2 to build up extra spores above 10. And also, there are some synergies where if you do a perfect block, you'll gain an extra spore charge on the opponent. So you can actually go above 10. But here, like I said, we're just keeping it simple. That's in the SB1. And that's it. So much less stressful fight. It wasn't clean, but I know moving forward I don't have to use an invulnerability boost. So now,
hi boys.
It's time to bring the Suicide Squad. So we are going to bring Omega Red for this Killmonger. And he's a decent matchup. You don't have to worry about the reverb damage. Again, once the opponent has spores on him, if you hit with an attack that does not, if you hit an attack that normally deals damage back to you with your medium, you do not take damage. It's very hard to describe. So it's basically when you're facing against Magic, if you hit her with your medium attacks and it triggers Limbo, you're not going to take Limbo damage. If you use your medium attack and hit Killmonger when he has Reverberation active, you won't take any reverb damage. And I think that goes the same with Electro, if you just do medium attacks against Electro. So basically attacks that deals energy damage back to you, you take no damage with the medium attacks. Now the light attacks, of course, you do take damage. Now this fight, I'm gonna keep it a little bit more simpler than I did with that Venom fight, and it helps that Omega Red is not a stubborn defender, so I don't have to worry about a perfect block. Cause I think the power kind of got out of control with Venom because the perfect block doubled the power gain rate. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm just like blocking the heavy and not even try to trigger stubborn. And this is probably the most intense part of the fight right there. But I purposely did not launch my specials, one because I got recoil. So also we were just gonna parry heavy majority of the fight. So we're gonna siphon that health back there. So again, there are multiple ways to play this guy. Alright, so Suicide Squad for the win. And we're gonna have suicides on for the next several fights here. So buckle your seatbelts. Now this next fight, Void, didn't really know which direction I wanted to go. I definitely don't want to use Omega Red because the bleed debuff will actually count against me that time. So I decided to go with Colossus. But this node is like if you have 3 or more debuffs on you, the opponent becomes unblockable. So against Void, you don't have to worry about that happening. But the other part is if you purify debuff, the opponent goes unblockable for 7 seconds. So I was thinking like if you do a 10-hit combo and it gets rid of the debuff, I guess I thought that counted as a purify, but apparently it didn't. Because I recall, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to see it right here. Yeah, so I purified it, but he did not become unblockable. So I'm guessing that, like, if you got someone like Korg or like Agent Venom, like someone who shrugs off debuffs, I'm guessing that is what makes the opponent unblockable. So Void was not as hard as I thought on that note, but because I was worried about the Purify part, to be honest with you. So I know moving forward, you don't have to worry about that. So this is why I use Colossus early on, because this node here is going to be an insurance policy. So unfortunately, this Havoc has suicide, so the fact that I'm boosted, it's gonna make this fight quicker. Well, not actually, I'm not boosted. It's just suicides that I have. So I have higher attack, glass cannon. I mean, yeah. So, and I could have cheesed this fight. I could have just took my time and let the plasma debuff heal me more. And sometimes it's not a bad thing to do that. But I just decided to blitz through that fight. And that was the last fight before I went to bed. Unfortunately, I wasn't unlinked before going to bed to take out that thing with the... Actually, I think I did have a boost. I'm not sure. But anyway, I wake up the next morning. We're unboosted now, but we still have suicides. So we're going to use Omega Red. He's a great counter for Thing as well. You can manage the rock stacks easier. So the whole idea here is to kind of just stay close, keep the rock stacks, keep the not rock stacks, keep the spores high, and I kind of lost him there. So now we're just trying to get him to 15 rock stacks to manage that. And you have to be careful with Omega Red. Like if you have 15, if you have spores on the opponent, every once in a while with his awaken ability, if you hit into the opponent's block, you'll actually hit them. So against Thing, it can be kind of tricky when you're trying to hit into the block when he already has 15 stacks, especially if you're not over the power threshold. Now, for some reason, I messed up here by throwing the SP3 because he was almost at 15 rock stacks, and I throw an SP3, which drains the opponent's power, so it's kind of counterproductive in hindsight what I did there. Plus, he became unblockable when I launched that special, so unfortunately, we're going to mismanage the rock stacks here. And I tried to hit into this block, but he decided to intercept. And I hit him. I intercepted him, but I ended up hitting him in the process, which made him unstoppable. But nonetheless, we're in control of the fight. As you can see, I don't like getting hit, but I tried to use another SP3 to cheese heal a little bit, but I think I got him down too low. But it's all good. At this point, we're unscathed this war, so you take the wins as you get them. All right, so the next fight here, and going solo, we're going to the left side this time. Normally we go right side, but the left side, we didn't really have a cord counter, and I had Omega, so I'll just take him here. I think we did have an Omega, but ended up hindsight being a good idea that I took this side. But yeah, I'm just gonna use Omega once again. We're gonna do like we did on node 23. Now he purified there and kind of threw off my timing. I took a heavy attack in the face, but it's all good. We already had a comeback regeneration boost on. It's mostly for the next fight, but since I got it, might as well use it, right? All right, so things are going pretty patient. All right, I gotta get rid of Stubborn there. That's the SP1. Gotta get rid of Stubborn once again. Alright, I'm gonna reapply the DGN. Now he's actually healing quite a bit of it back with willpower. And I get touched there with the SP2, so it actually gives me a pretty lengthy bleed. So it's kind of like a little mini suicide there. And we're just going to use this little bleed period to our advantage. We're just waiting out the DGen. We're just going to reapply it. Just keeping it simple towards the end of this fight. So we got 16 stacks, so we're going to use this opportunity to get some healing in here. And look at that regeneration. Look at that. So up to 85%. So by the way, it's SP3. The more spores you have on the opponent, the more you heal and the more power you take back from the opponent. If you have 30 spores on the opponent, you actually heal all the way up to, you actually shoot all the way up to 3 bars of power, and you heal quite a bit. So this next node here, we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to parry heavy with Mr. Colossus. We want to make sure that that combat regeneration boost was still active. And now you're going to see a little subtle thing that I do at the very beginning of this fight. Because MODOK, this is a power focused SP1, so I didn't want to get MODOK to SP1 right away because I'm healing. Because what that SP1 does, it actually reverses your healing and your power gain. So another heavy attack will push him over to SP1. So I'm just stalling here so that way my combat regeneration boost completely heals me up to the most I could. So I parried at a stall. And now we're ready to fight. So just a little subtle thing there. So as you can see there, even with me healing 2 ticks per second, that SP1 reversed it by like 1 small tick. Like you see the red ones there. So imagine if you did that SP1 while I was healing with the combat regen, it would actually just reverse much more severely. So it's just a little small thing there. Again, I'm all about cheesing at times or really it's just gamesmanship, just knowing the nuances of the game to take advantage of. Not cheat, but just be smart, save potions, play smart, not hard. So now we didn't have the best void counter for this node, and I really don't either. I was okay with him on that previous node, but this particular node, I was very uncomfortable with this. So I put a whole bunch of boosts for this fight because I really didn't want to die. I really did not want to die. So because my whole thought process, I'm just gonna max boost. I'm gonna put a invulnerability boost, which I need to start saving those things. Because I was gonna, if I had to tank a couple of SP3s, that's the whole idea. And then even on top of that, I think I put a 25% SP3 boost. But in hindsight, if I take 2 SP3s and don't die, by the time it gets to the 3rd SP3, I'm probably going to die anyway because of the aspect of evolution with all that power gain and attack rating over time. So yeah. So just doing a whole bunch of boosting. And I decided to go with Colossus because I figured this would make the fight go by the quickest, just by parry heavy. And things are going pretty well. Now I mess up. That is the reason I mess up in this fight. I mess up right there. I get hit twice, so I lose my combo. So that just puts me behind the 8 ball when it comes to the debuffs. And that's going to play a huge factor, really. It's going to play a huge factor in this fight. And then it doesn't help that I get hit again. So I get hit with the SP1. So now I got 2 debuffs on me. And yes, I could have just tried to do 5-hit combos to get rid of the debuffs. But my whole game plan was to build to SP2, parry heavy to maximize damage, and then do the SP2 with the power boost, get close to another SP2. But now I have the petrified debuff on me. That's going to reverse that healing even more. So we're trying to, it's a race against the clock. Then he does this lengthy SP1. So now I'm just gonna do a 5-hit combo and see if this SP2 kill him. And actually I died with recoil actually. So I forgot I had suicides on because I didn't mean to have it on for this fight. That's probably why I died quicker. So Suicide Squad did me in, man. But I decided to just keep it on since the last few minutes of the fight. And you see why I didn't use Omega against Void in that first fight, because instead of healing off that bleed, I was actually degenerating. So as you can see, we got 40 minutes left in the war. We're having a problem with this thing here. So I kind of waited out. I was debating whether I should just go ahead and take this link. So we want to clear the boss. This season is pretty competitive. We want to make sure that we stay in Platinum 4. Now, as you can see here, I thought I did this. I wasn't sure if I did it, but you saw that. There was a bug. You saw that I put my pre-flight ability on. But do you see Nova Flames? No, you don't. So Kabam, you need to fix this. Cause I could have sworn, after this fight was over, I was saying to my alliance group, I was such in a rush to get into this fight, I forgot to turn the pre-flight ability on. But as you can see in this video, I did have the pre-flight on. But instead of the Nova Flames, I'm doing regular Incinerates, and that severely nerfs the damage output on this boss. So the first thing I was worried about is timing out, or just dying from just shock damage over time. And I did take suicides off, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, because Human Torch is not a good suicide person to have. But so my plan there was just to make sure I built my temperature to 20 and try to maintain that 20 temperature as much as possible, so that way I can build up these smolder passives and make these regular Incinerates more potent, so that way they can at least make up somewhat for not having the Nova Flames. But this fight should have been much quicker, especially if I'm fully boosted. This fight would probably be over by now. But instead, he's like halfway finished, and it has to just stress it out. But I'm on pace to beat him. But as you guys saw there, I turned on the pre-fight ability, yet I don't have the Nova Flames. So there's been a few bugs. So I definitely need to get this fixed here, especially by the next war. It's too competitive to have stuff like this happen. But as you can see, we melted him down. I was impressed with myself. I was able to take this fight without Nova Flames because I didn't think it was possible, but it is. But anyway, guys, that's the war. Had that one death to Void by just a hair. But unfortunately, we lost the war. We died quite a few times. Our group, we had a 150 attack bonus, and we only got 6. I think we only got 18 kills. But please share, like, subscribe, and hope you have a great day.